Fantastic. Thank you, John, and good afternoon, MTW agencies. We are thrilled to be here with you today. Welcome to the office hours for the MTW Supplement. With us today, we have agencies from both Cohort 1, MTW Flexibilities, as well as Cohort 2, stepped and tiered rent policies. Agencies from both Cohorts 1 and 2 are with us today, as well as a almost full complement of the MTW team to hopefully answer any questions that you guys may have. Laura, if you could go to the next slide, please. So what are we going to do today? So what we are going to do today is hopefully have a lot of fun and answer any questions that you all may have regarding the MTW onboarding process. The objective for this afternoon is that now that you have attended or hopefully at least watched the supplement webinars that we have done, we are going to walk through those and quite frankly quiz you on the MTW supplement. We're hoping that to see if you guys have if we've done a good job presenting the information in a way that has been absorbed by you all. So through this kind of onboarding series that we've had, we've walked through what is the MTW supplement to the PHA plan, how do we use it, some tips and tricks in conducting a public process. We've walked through what are the various sections of the MTW supplement. We've talked about the actual web-based form and how to submit the MTW supplement, and Gwendolyn even walked you through what that form will look like. And also we've kind of answered any other questions that you guys have. So with today, what we're going to do today is first kind of start with a poll to kind of get the juices flowing, to get you guys used to do this. And then we're going to do a kind of hopefully a fun quiz to kind of walk through the various pieces. We'll absolutely have time to answer any questions that you guys may have, whether it relates to the specific quiz questions that you guys had, or anything else as it relates to any of the MTW onboarding process. So don't be shy. As John noted, you can type your questions into the chat feature, and also you can unmute yourself and ask your questions verbally as well. So our goal for the end of the session is that we've answered all of those questions that you may have. And with me today is Crystal Mills is going to join me in walking through the Mentimeter quiz on the MTW supplement. So, hey, Crystal. And so with that, Laura, if you could pull up the Mentimeter piece. I'm getting a little bit of feedback, so just as a reminder, folks, to keep your phone on mute. Time for the Mentimeter. We've done this before. We got rave reviews. I like to call them rave reviews. And so we're going to try it again. So you see Laura is sharing her screen. With this, you are going to use one screen, probably your computer screen, to kind of watch the webinar, watch the questions come up. And then you're going to play the game on your smartphone or iPad or other device such as that. So grab your smartphone, grab your iPad, and let's get to it. Now, open a browser. And again, I'm hearing some feedback. So folks, if you could please keep your phones on mute, that would be great. And Crystal, I think that's going to be a test for you and me as we pass it back and forth as well. I can tell that we're going to be the problem children with our phones. I'm like planning it for advance. So, where am I? So, Mentimeter, open a browser, take out Safari, Google Chrome, whatever you want, and type in www.menti.com, Mentimeter. And then once you get there, you'll be prompted to enter in a code, enter in 751251. And John put it in the chat box here. So I'm going to give y'all a moment to do that. Again, cell phone, www.menti.com, and then 751251. And if you don't have your phone handy or another device, no worries. You can sit back, you can still participate, you can laugh and have fun, hopefully. But please don't type the answers into the chat because this is a ungraded quiz. All right, so before we get to our quiz game, we're gonna ask a couple of poll-based questions, kind of opinion-based questions, just to get a sense of how you guys are feeling about the MTW operations notice, the supplement, and everything else that goes with it. There is no right or wrong answer here. So with that, let's go to the first question. Laura, if you could pull up that first poll question, please. All right, question is, how comfortable do you feel about submitting your moving to work supplement? A, I'm good. I got all the information and guidance I need. B, so-so, still have some questions. Or C, not very, I need some more help. All right. Putting in our questions. I'm seeing a high pink in the so-so. Still have some questions. I see 28 people still have some questions, so we expect to hear 29 questions during today's office hours, right? Crystal, I see you nodding your head. So that means that we're going to have at least 30 questions during these office hours, and Crystal and I are here as long as you need us to be. All right. Next question. Again, this one is a poll. No right or wrong answer. Laura, next slide. The question is, how comfortable do you feel using the MTW operations notice? Again, A, I'm good. I know how to find the information I need in the MTW operations notice. Here's mine. I'm so-so. I still have some questions about the MTW operations notice. Or C, not very. I need more help in understanding the information in the notice. All right. Good. You guys don't want to ask questions about the ops notice, I see. That's good. So that means you all have the MTW operations notice saved to your screen, highlighted, tabbed. You can pull it out at the drop of a hat. If I say go to section 5 of the MTW ops notice, you'll be able to say, oh, here it is right here. In section 5, you're going to talk about MTW funding flexibility because it's right here, right? Good job. All right. So we're pretty good on the ops notice. We'll see. All right, are we ready to go? Crystal, are you ready? All right, I'm ready. I'm going to stop talking, put my phone on, turn it over to you.
Awesome. Okay, I love the polls. Great idea. It's so great to see that so many of you are confident about moving forward. Others who answer so-so after today, hopefully you will have your unanswered questions clarified. What do you say that we go ahead and put your knowledge to the test by diving into our quiz? Laura? All right, it's quiz time. So with these questions, the objective of the game is to answer the most questions correctly, and the quicker you answer, the more points you get. So as we go through the questions, we will pause periodically to check the leaderboard, to see who's in the top of the lead, and at the end, the final winner will be revealed. So let's begin with a practice question to get everyone set up for the game. And as a reminder, the www.menti.com and enter 751251, also listed there in the chat if you haven't done so already. So it's quiz time. All right, so if you logged in using the code in the chat, then first you will see on your screen that you'll be assigned a character or icon, and you'll be prompted to enter a name. So you can either enter your government name, if you're comfortable doing so, or you can feel free to use an anonymous nickname. And we'll just wait here for a few seconds to give folks a chance. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. I don't know if I remember these little cute icons from last time. I think maybe, oh my gosh, look at the lions, the tigers, the bears. Oh, this is so cute. And okay, all right. Coming on in, 44. Right. Okay. And as Marianne said, like, if you don't have access to enter, then just please listen intently because some of those questions for the people who mentioned so-so or that they weren't really comfortable, we hopefully will answer throughout the quiz. All right, so looking at your phones, your tablets, or whatever device you choose and to use, we're going to go ahead and start off with a practice question. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the question aloud. And our question is, are you ready to play? A, yes, B, no, or yes or no. All right. We couldn't ask for anything better than that. So as you see, the question popped up, and then what happened is the timer came up on your screen and it walked you down how much time you had left to answer. And remember, the quicker you answer, the better, because it's a competition, but also it's informative only, okay? So for upcoming quiz, you'll again get to see the question, the answer options on your screen, and I'll also be reading them aloud. You'll then see a message, the answer quickly in order for you to get the most points, right? Then the question will appear, the countdown will begin, and you'll be able to respond as quickly as possible. All right, so this is, I'm so excited. Let's get started with question number one. Question number one, an MTW PHA can implement MTW waivers and their associated activities once its MTW ACC amendment is signed. A, true or false? You can look at your devices, select the correct answer. If you feel the correct answer is, look at that countdown. Quicker the better. 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Time's up. Okay. All right. This is okay. Fairly close. Okay. So the correct answer is B, false. A little tricky. Well, not tricky, but I'll tell you why. It's the MTW supplement, not your ACC amendments, that you must submit and have approved from your HUD field office before implementing any MTW waivers or their associated activities. And so not your ACC amendment, but your MTW supplement must be approved first. And once the MTW supplement is approved and you receive the official letter from HUD, you must also make sure that you update your ACOP and admin plan before implementing any activities. I'm happy we were able to go over that one. Let's move on to question 2. Your phone's ready, fingers ready to go. All right. What is the required number of days a PHA must take their MTW supplement through the public process? So A, 75 days, B, 30 days, C, 365 days, or D, 45 days? All right. Answers being submitted into the phone. A reminder that answer fast. Right. Timer going down, putting your answers. Time's up. Marianne, look at that. That's awesome. Okay, the correct answer is D, 45 days. So you're required to take your MTW supplement through the required process for 45 days. We want to just make sure, we know we repeated it again loud and clear, that that's the bare minimum of the requirements in the MTW operations notice. So for your MTW efforts to be successful, you're going to want to actively engage with your residents and your community through the public process. And so bare minimum, 45 days, and most of you got it correct. So congratulations. Oh, yes. Marianne?
Crystal, can I pop in here?
Oh, yeah.
For those of you that said 365 or 75, if you want to go above that 45 days, that's okay too. It's the 45-day minimum. So 365, that's great. Like there's some activities that you might want to work for a very long time with your community. That's great, but the 45 days is the minimum. Okay, thanks, Crystal. I'll go back.
Of course. Okay, thank you for plugging that in, because I know when I talk to Marianne about this, she always tells me, I always tell people to engage with your communities early and often. So I think that's okay. Good job on answering correctly, but excellent point, Marianne. And remember that there's no one right way to engage your residents and your surrounding community. Remember those successful strategies that we want you continuously to have in mind about establishing trust, how important that is, educating your residents, educating your residents about MTW, being inclusive with your residents and key stakeholders, and ultimately to plan ahead, come prepared. And a quick plug, there's great trainings on engaging the public available to you in the online training manual. Okay, so definitely use those resources. All right, on to question number 3. PHAs are required to complete a separate public hearing for agency-specific and safe harbor waiver requests. A, true, or B, false? Get those answers in. I think most people will probably get this right. All right, counting down. 3, 2, and 1. Let's see those results. Okay, all right, interesting. All right, so the correct answer is true. Your PHA must work closely with your residents and communities when developing your safe harbor and agency-specific waiver requests. Thus, in addition to the public process requirements, you are required public process requirements for your PHA plan. You also need to have an additional public meeting to discuss any safe harbor or agency-specific waivers. But I also want to say, like, remember that you can hold these meetings back to back, even on the same night if you choose. Okay. Next question, number 4. Okay. Question number 4, when figuring out what activities your PHA will implement, you must review which of the following documents: A, the MTW Operations Notice, B, the Selection Notice, C, both, or D, none of the above. Definitely don't put none of the above. All right. All right, get those answers in. Count down, get those answers in. This is fun. I'm having fun. All right, time's up. Awesome. Okay, wonderful. Both. The answer is C, both. Remember the analogy that we've been using. The MTW Operations Notice serves as your compass. It's there to point you in the right direction of all things that you can do with your MTW status. Your Selection Notice will serve as your map that gives you the information that you need to get where you're wanting to go. And it also is going to let you know if you're actually eligible to do what you're eligible to do based off of the specifics, the specific cohort that you were selected under. So we have to pay attention to that as well. And so please be sure to keep both of those handy. You saw when Marianne had it right next to her desk ready to go. It is super, super important. So perfect. Kudos to everyone who said both. All right, question number 5. If the MTW Operations Notice and the Selection Notice present conflicting information, which document rules? Which one trumps? A, the MTW Operations Notice, or B, the Selection Notice? All right. Let's see how we answer this one. Get those answers in. 5 seconds. Okay, this is interesting. All right, so the correct answer is actually B. So you need to get to know the MTW Operations Notice like the back of your hand, as we've been telling you. But if the Selection Notice should require something different, then you must meet the requirements from the Selection Notice first, okay? For example, you must follow all of the safe harbors in the MTW Operations Notice unless the Selection Notice actually says something different. And Marianne is going to chime in also. Marianne?
Yeah, and I think this may have been a trick question for the first Cohort 1 agencies, because for the Cohort 1 agencies, there's really no additional information in the Selection Notice. They follow the ops notice, and that's what they do. for the Cohort 2 agencies, we talked about this last week, there's certain information in the selection notice for how for example, how the tier rent bands need to be structured, that type of thing. And so there's specific information in the selection notice that they need to follow as it relates to as well. And also certain cohorts, they may or may not be able to implement certain MTW waivers, and all of that additional information is in the selection notice. So the ops notice is the compass, and the attention to that as well, because there may be some pieces of that that you're not able to implement. So thanks.
Awesome, thank you. Absolutely. Okay, all right, let's move on to question 6. Which of the following will be asked in the MTW supplement for each proposed MTW waiver? Is it A, core questions, B, custom questions, or C, all of the above as applicable? And this is a good question. I know that, we've gone over this, that Gwendolyn took us through core questions, custom questions, what that would actually look like when you're into your MTW supplement. We're really hoping that everyone has a good understanding of the differentiations between the core question and the custom question. All right, and at least 27 people do. Okay, all right, so the correct answer is C, all of the above. Awesome, awesome job. Once you have identified the activities you want to implement and have your basic information entered into the supplement, then the system will guide you to the correct questions to complete based on the Section C screener. Section C is where all your MTW waivers are located. And this includes both core questions and custom questions as they apply. You guys would be so familiar with this soon. Piece of cake. All right, next question. Oh, actually, no, don't go to the next question. All right, we're gonna break here. We wanna see who's in the lead. We wanna see, take a look at our leaderboard, and then we'll continue on. Who was in? Oh, wow. Okay. All right, what do we have? Still computing? All right, I see that love site with the love eyes is in the top. Puffy comes in second. Frosty the snowman is in third, and Casper. So it's really close, really close. So this is good. You all are rocking and rolling and really capturing what you need to move forward as an MTWer. So we want to keep things moving. And I'm going to pass it over to you, Marianne, for our next set of questions.
Fantastic. Thank you, Crystal. And way to go. Lovely, and Puppy, or love, whatever. We'll find you again. Question number 7. Which of the below is not one of the 4 types of waivers? A, an MTW waiver. B, a safe harbor waiver. C, a cohort-specific waiver. D, a rent reasonableness waiver. Or E, agency-specific. Which is not one of the 4 types of MTW waivers. For more information about MTW waivers and the 4 types of MTW waivers, Section 4 of the MTW Operations Notice on page 7. You have it next to your screen. You can cheat. Or cheat. Yes, that's right. Rent reasonableness. So the 4 type, now also as I'm looking at this, I'm like, rent reasonableness is a waiver that you can implement through MTW. So see, that was a little bit tricky, but the 4 MTW waivers are MTW waiver, safe harbor waiver, cohort specific waiver, and agency specific waiver. For more information, read section 4 of the MTW Operations Notice. All right, next one. Question number 8. An impact analysis and a hardship policy is required when requesting a safe harbor waiver. True, false, or it depends? All right, so get out your phones. An impact analysis and a hardship policy is required when requesting a safe harbor waiver. A, true, B, false, or C, it depends. Time's up. Let's see. All right, we got that. So it depends is right. So every safe harbor waiver, and again, this is in the supplement, which I don't have printed out, you guys caught me. Every safe harbor waiver impact analysis must be submitted for every single safe harbor waiver, no matter what. A description of the hardship policy is only required as applicable. In other words, if families are going to be directly impacted by that activity. So for safe harbor waivers, if the families aren't going to have like the direct impact, then the hardship policy isn't necessary, but an impact analysis is necessary for all safe harbor waivers. All right, let's move on to number 9. MTW supplements are submitted online and reviewed by the field office for approval. True or false? MTW supplements are submitted online and reviewed by the field office for approval. True or false? Pull out your cell phones. Submitted online by the agency and reviewed by the field office. Is that true or false? 2, 1. Yes, true. Good job. Remember, the MTW supplement, what is it, the supplement of? It's a supplement to the PHA plan. The PHA plan, you still submit that directly to the field office in the same way that you always have. The only new piece here is the MTW supplement to the plan. We have the online tool that you can use to submit it to the field office, and then the field office will review it and let you know once it's approved. All right, next question, please, Laura, number 10. Can I use Internet Explorer web browser with the MTW supplement web-based system? A, yes, B, no. Get out your phones. Can I use Internet Explorer web browser with the MTW supplement web-based system? This is a test. And the answer is yes, good job. The answer is no, no, no. We recommend Google Chrome, Firefox, Microsoft Edge, and also Wendelin put together a lot of really great information in the job aid for PHA users, which is on the website, and we'll be sending that out also, and as an MTW Insider after this, these office hours. So lots of really good information there, but you're absolutely right. It just does not like Internet Explorer. I don't know why, it's just how it works. Number 11, please. Laura, next question. Similarly, if I need help with the MTW supplement system, should I email Wendelin Huvendick? Should I contact the REACT Technical Assistance Center? Should I email the MTW supplement mailbox? Or shall I email MTW Cohort 1 and or the MTW Cohort 2 mailbox? So what do I do if I need help with the system, the MTW supplement system? Do I email Wendelin A, contact REACT Tech B, email the MTW supplement mailbox C, or email the Cohort mailbox D? Yes, the correct answer is, all right, so we were tied. So those of you that said REACT Tech are correct. We have trained and gotten the REACT Technical Assistance Center up to speed. They know everything that they need to know on the systems issue. If you have any specific questions on the system, REACT Tech is your #1 place to go, and then they will appropriately loop in Wendelin or the MTW supplement or the field office or Crystal or the appropriate offices. And fairly confident that you guys know how to reach them, but if you don't, it's REACT_Tech at HUD.gov. And again, this is all in the information that we've sent out. And the phone number is 888-245-4860, option 9. React TAC for technical issues with the supplement. Start with the React TAC, and then they will get the questions to Wendelin, to Crystal, to the field, and to whoever they need to go to. All right, next question, number 12. The list of files uploaded under hardship policy and impact analysis shows files uploaded for other activities. Nope, it only shows files uploaded for the current activity, or yes, the two lists are cumulative. Again, the list of files that are uploaded under hardship policy and impact analysis shows files uploaded for other activities. Is this no, it only shows a file uploaded for the current activity, or yes, the two lists are cumulative? And the right answer is, who is paying attention? B. All right. This is really good feedback for us. This quiz is as good a feedback for us as it hopefully is for you guys. The correct answer is B. It's cumulative. The two lists are cumulative. It shows the files uploaded for all of the activities that you've indicated on the form that you will do. And again, we have a job aid and resource as it relates to the MTW supplement specifically. So I encourage you to take a look at that, and then also to check out last week's webinar with Wendelin, where she walked through all of that piece. And with that, let's check out the leaderboard to see where we are. I see Love Sight and Puffy. Oh, Puffy's, Casper's taking a lead. Whoa. Casper jumped up in front and followed quickly by Puffy for the silver and Chris with the bronze. And I don't know what comes after that. Way to go. So we are doing, the cat's meow. I love these names. Good job, you guys. All right, so we are moving along. I think this is good information. We'll have some good, like I said, we've got a lot of people. We can answer any specific questions that are coming up here. But let's, for now, let's move on, kind of finish walking through this Mentimeter, and then we'll have good dialogue and answer any other questions you guys may have. So, Crystal, I'm going to turn it over to you to kind of walk us through the rest of the Mentimeter.
Awesome. Thank you, Marianne. I see you, Casper, Puffy, Chris, Lindsay's creeping behind you. Okay. All right, everyone. To wrap things up, we are going to ask a couple questions that are only for the Cohort 1 agencies that we have on the call today. And then we'll follow up with the 2 questions specifically for the Cohort 2 agencies. So the next 2 upcoming questions are specifically for and to be answered by the MTW Flexibilities Cohort. And the final 2 questions will be for the stepped and tiered rent cohort. And we did this to be fair because we wanted to make sure we knew everyone that was going to be on the call. So we asked that you please only answer the questions specific to your cohort, even if you know the answer to the questions for the other cohort. That makes sense to everyone. Okay, let's move forward to question number 13. All right, for Cohort 1 agencies only. There are certain MTW activities that I can't do as MTW Flexibilities Cohort, as an MTW Flexibilities Cohort. A, true, B, false. Marianne mentioned this earlier. Cohort 1 agencies, there are certain MTW activities that I can't do under the MTW Flexibilities Cohort. A, true, B, false. Get your answers in. Count down. You have 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Okay, time's up. How did this? All right. So, okay, we're happy that we asked this. And the correct answer is actually B. So as part as the MTW Flexibilities Cohort, you can choose to implement any MTW activities as they're listed within Appendix 1 in the MTW Operations Notice. Put it up, Marianne, that's right. Show people. Just keep an eye out for those safe harbor parameters, okay? Because everything has to still be within the safe harbor parameters. If you're wanting to go outside of those parameters, a safe harbor waiver may be needed, okay? So on to question number 14. And this again is for Cohort 1 agencies only. how many MTW waivers are listed in the MTW operations notice? I'll repeat it again since I jumbled it for cohort 1 agencies. How many MTW waivers are listed in the MTW operations notice? For this, you will be visiting Appendix 1 within the MTW operations notice. And we said it before, keep those things handy and dandy near you. It's going to be very important. All right. So is it A4, B17, C22, or D70? Okay, all right. So this is very interesting. You guys got to pull out your MTW operations notice and know what you're capable of doing. What can you guys do? You can do so much, because the correct answer is actually B, 17. And it could be kind of confusing because there's 17 MTW waivers, which are different than the associated activities. So remember to keep your MTW operations notice like near and dear to your heart and to your computer. And you can review all 17 of these in Appendix 1 of the MTW operations notice. Or also, here's another, I got you, Marianne. Here's another helpful thing, a plug here, because we also dive into this in additional training surrounding all of the 17 waivers and the online training manual. I want to stop here for a second because I think Marianne has some helpful information for us.
Marianne's jumping out of her skin. So if you go to Appendix 1 of the operations notice, the waivers are talking about the specific statutory and regulatory citations that you can waive, that you don't have to follow with MTWs. So the waivers are things like the umbrella of tenant rent policies. That's the umbrella of payment standards and rent reasonableness, reexaminations, landlord leasing incentives, which is really obviously very important right now, housing quality standards, short-term assistance, term limited assistance. Those are the waivers, and it's what the waiver is, what parts of the statute and the regs that you're waiving. Within each waiver, there's the associated activities. So under tenant rent policies, we've got tiered rent for the public housing program. We've got tiered rent for the housing choice voucher program. We've got stepped rent for the public housing program. We've got stepped rent for the housing choice voucher program. And so those are the and so there's about 70 associated activities, but there's, what do we say, 17 waivers, broad waiver categories in Section 1 of the ops notice. Okay, thanks.
Great, thank you. So I know I did a plug right before, but the online training manual is really a great resource. You're going to want to make sure that you're referencing the MTW operations notice with everything that you're doing. Okay, but we do want to remind you guys of that. Now, cohort 1, pencils down, as the teachers used to say, because in fairness, we are going to now ask these next 2 questions for cohort 2's agencies only. So for the stepped and tiered rent cohort only, these next 2 questions are going to be for you, and they are as follows with question number 15. Okay, for cohort 2 rent studies, both tiered and stepped rent, to implement an alternative re-examination schedule, waivers 3A and 3B, you must do the following. A, request a safe harbor waiver. B, meet mandatory safe harbors that cannot be waived. Or C, both A and B. Repeat that as you guys are answering. For cohort 2 rent studies, both tiered and stepped rent, to implement an alternative re-examination schedule, you must A, request a safe harbor waiver. B, meet mandatory safe harbors that cannot be waived. Or C, both A and B. All right. Cohort 2 agents. Okay, this is, yay. All right, that's wonderful. The majority of people got it right. The correct answer is C, both A and B. So firstly, for both tiered and stepped rent approaches, there are mandatory safe harbors in the MTW operations notice. that include an impact analysis, a hardship policy, and an exemption for the elderly and disabled. And documentation supporting that must be included in your MTW supplements. As you may recall, Allison Christensen from our office overviewed this last week. So as a reminder, for tiered rent, you'll need a safe harbor waiver to remove the requirement for one interim adjustment annually if gross income decreases by more than 10%. Instead, you will need a waiver now that allows for adjusting if gross income drops into a lower tier. And okay, and we're available for questions surrounding this, okay? And then also for step rent, you'll need a safe harbor waiver to remove the requirement for one interim adjustment annually if gross income decreases by more than 10%. And the waiver allows for adjustments across steps if rent burden exceeds 40%. So in our last meter quiz question, before we move on to who our winner is, for cohort 2 only, rent studies, to use gross income to calculate rent, waivers 1R and 1S, you must meet the following mandatory safe harbors. A, impact analysis, B, hardship policy, C, elderly disabled exemption, or D, all of the above. For cohort 2 rent studies, to use gross income to calculate rent, waivers 1R and 1S, you must meet one of the following mandatory safe harbors: impact analysis, hardship policy, elderly disabled exemption, or D, all of the above. Last question, getting our answers in. All right, the correct answer is D. The majority of you got it right. The mandatory safe harbors, which are marked with an asterisk in Appendix 1 under the waiver section of the MTW operations notice. You have to look at the safe harbor waiver section. You must do an impact analysis, you must have a hardship policy, and you must have an exemption for your elderly or disabled residents. So again, remember that any safe harbors for any waivers that are marked with that asterisk in Appendix 1 of the MTW operation notice cannot be waived through a safe harbor waiver. All right, so, all right, this is exciting. That wraps up the quiz questions. Let's check and see who's in the leaderboard, who's overall winner, who's in the top 3. Did Lindsay make a comeback? It's calculating, it's computing. All right, Casper, you're our winner. Congratulations. And with Puffy and Lindsay in a close, you almost came out with a close leave behind. So we hope that you all enjoyed that and learned something along the way. I had a blast, but I don't want to save all the fun for myself. So I'm going to ask Laura if we can switch back to our slides so that we can follow up and open up for questions. And Marianne, I'll pass it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Crystal, and congratulations, Casper and Fluffy and Lovesight and some others that were in there. Fantastic. So we hope that you all enjoyed our just the Mentimeter. Was that good? Hopefully that's a good, we got some good feedback last time we did it. Hopefully it was good. Today, what we wanted to do now is really just open it up for questions from you all on anything that you heard today, on any of the supplement pieces. We have the team with us, so if you have questions relating to the MTW ACC amendment, the finance piece, we've got Praveen, I think, for another maybe 15 minutes, the supplement, any of that, let us know. Again, to ask questions, you can put your question in the chat feature, and Christina, thank you, I see one in there from you. Remember to, in the to box, type in everyone, and then we'll all see the questions, both the HUD folks as well as you guys. Also, you have the ability to unmute yourself. I would really love to hear your voices and to see, I don't know if I can see you, but at least to hear real people's voices. So let us know also if you want to say something as well. So while you're thinking through your questions, I'm going to start with this first one that Christina put in here when we were walking through the Mentimeter. The question is, and I think, Crystal, this one I might send to you unless you want me to take it. The question is, public process I lost it. Public process involving the MTW supplement is after question mark. Is that different from receiving feedback prior to selecting the waivers question mark? Our PHA is currently seeking feedback for waivers. However, the supplement has not yet been submitted to HUD. Hopefully we didn't skip a step. And great question, great distinction. And Crystal, do you want to take this or do you want me to?
Sure, I'll take it and just ask for you to, add to it if need be. So I think Christina, and feel also to take your phone off of mute if you want to expand on the question. So my understanding of your question is do you need to go through the public process for your upcoming activities that you're planning to implement at your agency? And if that is the question, then yes, you will need to do that prior to submitting your MTW supplement. It will need to go through the public process for, like we said, a minimum of 45 days, but you can go longer. It's just the bare minimum. And so you said, I hope we don't skip a step. And I feel like, well, if you haven't submitted, then there's still time and you haven't skipped a step. But Christina, I also encourage you to come off of mute if you'd like to expand on the question. And if not, then I hope that answers it.
Yes, Crystal, you hit it right on. This is Christina. You hit it right on. So we have selected some waivers. However, we're seeking feedback right now just to kind of get the public feedback and see what everybody's thinking. But we have not finalized our final MTW supplement. So right now we're receiving feedback and we're in that 45, we're probably 60-day window, if you will. Website, engaging our community leaders, partners that we work with. But once we submit the MTW supplement, following all this feedback, we have to do this again?
No, ma'am. No, you don't have to do that again.
Okay, perfect.
I'm South Carolina. But yeah, no, you won't have to do that again. You just continue to engage. And I think it's great that you guys are on top of that, doing that now. And then if your agency also planning to submit an agency specific or safe harbor waiver, then that public process would be separate, but can be done at the same time, but separate also specifically for the waiver request, also before submitting. So.
Understood. Thank you so much, Crystal.
All right, very good. Yes, thank you. Thank you for your question. It's a good question.
That was a great distinction. Thank you for the question. So this next question, actually these next two, Allison, are going to come your way. And I'm going to share our little IMs that we just had. So the question from Philip was, is there any prohibition on a step two cohort agency? I think that means a cohort 2 agency requesting waiver number 9, project-based voucher flexibilities. So I sent Allison a note saying, hey, can you take this? Her response was, what was your response, Allison?
Let me look at the selection notice. Yeah.
Let me look at the selection notice in order to find out whether or not the waiver is possible or not. Start with the selection notice. Allison, what did you find when you went to the selection notice?
So I went to the selection notice, and in there is a list of all the waivers that are specifically excluded for tiered and stepped rent agencies for the duration of the evaluation. And number 9 on project-based vouchers is not in there. So if it's not in the selection notice as a prohibited waiver and associated activity, then you are free to implement it as you otherwise would as an MTW expansion PHA.
Fantastic. Thanks, Allison. Philip, any follow-up question on that? Does that address your question?
No, it does address the question. Thank you. And actually, I did see that on the selection notice, but I was maybe a little concerned because it didn't specifically say it was allowed or not. So I just wanted to check, but thank you for the answer.
Perfect. Always good to double check, but excellent. Thank you. All right, Allison, this next question, I'm going to ask you. I don't know the answer to, so I'm going to ask you. And if we need to circle back with everybody, we can do that as well. Lindsay's question is, MDRs, and this is for cohort 2 specifically, MDRC has said the evaluation tools for Cohort 2 will not be ready to do the rent evaluation until July of next year, 22. The original timelines we were sent showed implementation sooner. Can we implement other waivers sooner and then amend the MTW supplement, or do we need to do it all at once? Allison?
Yep, and Paul, Joyce from PD&R can jump in if I'm off base here, but I believe there would be no problem with that. So as long as it's a waiver and associated activity that you would otherwise be entitled to do, as in it's not prohibited by your selection notice, you can go ahead and get started with your MTW program, you know, separate from the rent implementation once that's ready. Paul, did you have anything to add?
Only that I'm a little bit confused by the question because July of 2022 is within the next year. So I would think that as you do your initial MTW supplement, you should be putting everything related to rent policies in there. You should get everything in there now.
Yes, that's a good point.
By everything, I don't mean everything you could possibly do at any point in time, but the rent policies that you're planning right now, you should get them in right away.
Yes, that's a great point. So you could, yeah, you could include that now. So just because you have the rent included in your supplement doesn't mean you'd have to implement it right away. So you could have that in your supplement ready to go so that as soon as the other tools were ready, you'd be able to implement as soon as possible. If you weren't quite ready with your rent activity and you had some maybe lower hanging fruit activities that you wanted to get started with sooner, you could also do a supplement with just those lower hanging fruit activities and then do an amendment to do your rent activity if that's a way you'd want to go to. So I think there's some different ways that you could structure it. But I guess the bottom line for the question is that don't let that timeline hold you up, that you should be able to move forward with your supplement and getting everything in there, you know, as soon as you're ready to.
Thank you.
Lindsay, does that answer your question?
Yes, that helped a lot. Thanks.
Okay, great. Other comments, questions, reaction? We're here, guys. Janet always said that I need to be comfortable with the silence while you guys are thinking about what your questions are and typing them up. So failing miserably, but trying very hard to do that. This is for the Cohort 2 agency. I do not see them. Oh my gosh, there they are. Oh, here's one, Christina. As part of the COVID waivers, and I think I'm going to send this to John. I don't think you're on. Maybe Allison, or I can take it. Allison, I'll see if you want to take it. Part of the COVID waivers, agencies are allowed to adopt self-certification of non-life-threatening deficiencies for the initial HQS inspections. Just confirming that this would be considered an agency-specific waiver if we wanted to adopt that activity within the MTW program, since it's not listed in the operations notice. Allison, do you want to?
Sure. Yeah. So if it's not an activity or a waiver that's not listed in the operations notice, and that would be pursued through an agency-specific waiver. And again, as we've said on other webinars, that if a number of agencies are pursuing an agency-specific waiver, and that's be one that would benefit other agencies, we'll continue to look at those and try to offer them more broadly as regular MTW waivers. So we'll keep an eye on that if there's one we missed.
Thanks, Allison. So yes, that you got that right, Christina. Good reading, interpreting that. Diana, if we choose to list a waiver in the supplement, is there a time limit within which to implement it? Crystal, do you want to take that? And again, the question is, if we choose to list a waiver on the supplement, is there a time limit in which to implement it?
So I know, Marianne, that in the supplement, it does offer an option of when you're choosing to implement, whether or not the drop down is currently implementing or plan to implement in the upcoming fiscal year. But to the question of the time limit, I'm honestly not 100% on. Somebody else on the call maybe, but so Diana, I will look into that unless someone else can answer that right now. And then get back to you.
So yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so ideally, when you are saying that you will be implementing something in the supplement, the plan is that you will be implementing activity in the upcoming plan year. So there's the plan to implement in that plan year. There is a drop down ability in the supplement that in the next year when you're doing the supplement, you'll report back like, okay, you implemented it, you're putting it on hold, or you're not going to implement it. You can choose that. But the goal is when you put it in the supplement that you are planning to implement it within that plan year. So we understand, you know, life happens, you may choose not to do that for some reason, and you would update that activity in the subsequent year's plan supplement. Does that answer the question, Diana?
And Diana, we encourage you to come off of mute if that's easier. Oh, she said yes.
Okay, perfect. I don't know why I'm having a hard time reading. Great, thanks, Diana. All right, Christina, please. So, Christina, if we submitted to HUD that our implementation date would be on January 1st, 2002, and we are not ready due to public process, software changes, training, et cetera, will there be an issue if we do not implement by January 22? And do we need to notify the cohort? And Christina, I might need you to come off mute for this. And I'm guessing you're talking about cohort. Are you a cohort 2 agency?
Cohort 1.
A cohort 1 agency, okay. And by we submitted to HUD, do you mean you submitted in your MTW plan?
Yes.
I'm sorry, in your application?
In the application process.
Okay, Allison, do you want to speak to that? If they put in their application that they were going to implement on January 1st, but they won't due to timing, will that be an issue?
Nope, that will not be an issue. So as we said in the selection notices, we understand that the plans you submitted are just plans. So, you know, that was just our best effort at the time and submitted those applications a while ago. So we understand if thinking might have changed since then. I should say some exceptions to that for cohort, the rent and stepped, the stepped and tiered rent cohort agency. So if you committed to doing the rent reform, obviously you have to comport to the, you know, the outlines of those policies, but for other things, it's not an issue.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great, great question, good clarification. A question from Andrew Dahl. It's a public process question. Crystal, if you want to take it, or I'm happy to. If the PHA is only proposing to implement safe harbor activities at this time, is there a requirement to hold a second public hearing? Of note, all of the proposed safe harbor waivers were presented in the initial public hearing. I'll take it because I actually love this question and I can give a little bit of context for why that additional public hearing is necessary for the safe harbor and the agency specific. So the answer to this question is yes. You need to have an additional public hearing process specifically for the safe harbors. It can be that same night. It can be you have the you know, one day, you know, from like 6 to 7, you're talking about your PHA plan, and from 7 to 7:30 or 8, you're talking about safe harbors or whatever it might be. It can be back to back. But what we heard from the advocates, from the resident and tenant advocates, as we were developing the as we were developing the operations notice in general, as we were planning for the expansion, was they wanted to ensure that residents and community members really knew and participated in the public process. And feedback that they had gotten from their resident and tenant advocates was that the PHA plan process just almost turned into this rote, you know, it's something that nobody goes to and people aren't paying attention, and it's like this rote meeting. And they suggested that we have a separate public process specifically for safe harbor and agency specific activities to ensure that community members, residents, tenants understand like there's something specific here you guys really want to check out, that it's not just kind of part of the rote public process. Andrew, does that answer your question, or do you want to kind of talk through that at all?
No, thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. It's a great distinction. I just wanted to provide a little bit of context as to why there's that added public hearing requirement. Other questions, comments? And if there's some in there and I'm not seeing them, let me know. Sometimes it looks like I'm missing them. Or just come off mute and say, do we feel good? Do we feel ready to go? Are there certain topics that you would like to see in future webinars? At this point, we're now going to be, except for like the evaluation specific pieces, we'll start bringing the agencies together. Are there specific topic areas that you'd like to see to talk through some more, have another, whether it's office hours or presentation? Haha. Are there certain restrictions for, Praveen, are you still there? I think you had to go. Are there certain restrictions for the emergency housing vouchers? So we will follow up with this in writing. Our expert on this had to go at like 3:05, so I think he just left, Christina. So in order to apply the MTW flexibilities to the emergency housing vouchers, you would need to, A, be an MTW agency, so your ACC amendment would need to be signed, and B, you would need to have submitted your MTW supplement through the online system and gotten the supplement and those waivers and activities approved by HUD. So those two steps need to happen. And then, you know, as part of that, if there are certain flexibilities that you know that you'd want to apply to your emergency housing vouchers, you would send a request to the field office through the typical waiver process, and then the field office that would be approved through the Deputy Assistant Secretary Danielle Basteresh would send you a letter letting you know whether or not those activities will be approved. For the most part, most of them are being approved. Certain flexibilities are not, such as waiving earned income disregard and things like that. You do need to go through the waiver, the official waiver process in order to apply those. But I'd like to follow that up in writing with you guys. So Tanisha, in our next, maybe in our next Insider or something, we can do an FAQ or something specifically on emergency housing vouchers for these expansion agencies. Christina, does that answer your question? Okay. Yes. Okay, future webinar. I would love additional technical assistance and webinars on the impact analysis and what other PHAs are doing. Fantastic, great idea. We did do a training specifically on, not a training like this, a resource specifically on the impact analysis, and we'll make sure to send that out to you guys so you can see it as part of the ICF training modules that they've developed. And then I hear you, and we will do some thinking about putting a webinar around that. So thank you. And we have a yes to that on something on impact analysis, so that's great. From Marnie, is there a master contact list for MTW point of contacts at each housing authority in cohort 2, specifically for those who are doing stepped rents? I would love to be able to collaborate and share information as needed throughout this process. So Wendelin, I think this is on our website.
It will be really soon. We're just finalizing it because we just did get some of the details. So it'll be on the website really soon, and then we can let folks know.
Perfect. That's right. So that is, so we will be posting on our MTW website the contact information for all of the agencies that lead point of contact. So Marnie, that you'll be able to have that. And also, if you think it would be helpful for us to manage, help you all collaborate, let us know. We can see if we can help in that regard as well.
Marianne, hi, this is Paul. I'll also just mention that that MDRC has already started talking one-on-one with many of the PHAs. They're about halfway through, and they're planning group discussions where all the PHAs doing the tiered rent will get together and all the PHAs doing the stepped rent will get together. And so those rent group meetings will be a good opportunity to start this cross PHA collaboration.
Perfect. Marnie, it sounds like that's exactly what you were asking for. So that's great. Thanks, Paul. Other questions? Or other topics? Have topics for future webinar series? All right. Laura, can you go slide, please? So as we keep on plugging this, and it's so important, there's so many resources out there, and we've tried to present them in a way that helps you kind of step by step get familiar with one and then learn, figure out, and then move on to the next one. The number one thing that you all need to be familiar with is the MTW operations notice, right? Like that we spent a lot of time, putting this together, trying to make it as clear as possible. And it's available on our website in a reader-friendly version, and it has all of the requirements that you need. And as Allison made note too, as we move forward with the expansion, if we see a bunch of agencies are requesting the same waiver, the goal will be that we update the waivers throughout to add them so that so they just become general MTW waivers. The selection notice, you need to be familiar with this selection notice, particularly cohort 2 agencies. You need to be familiar with, and we talked about that a lot last week, like how, if there's anything different in how you're implementing activities in the selection notice versus the ops notice, the selection notice, you need to follow that. And it tells you kind of what you need to do to get started. There's so much information available on our MTW page for the initial 39 agencies. Their contact information is on there. Their plans and the reports that they've been doing for over 20 years, all of that is on there. Tanisha has put together some good best practices and we're going to be updating that throughout. So we'll be adding in like different types of MTW activities that you might want to do. There's just a ton of really good information on our website. And then from there, you can click to cohort specific pages. You can click to the MTW supplement page. You can click to like all kinds of different information. So if you can go to the next slide, I think some of the other information is on here. Yeah, some more. There's the expansion page on our MTW website, the supplement, the expansion training. Our partners at the ICF have been hosting these great webinars, putting together some great tools. We have webinars that we did last fall on like really walking through what is the MTW operations notice. All of these onboarding webinars are on there, both for cohort 1 and cohort 2. We have the online manual, which basically takes this 70-page document, which is about the same number of activities we have, and puts it into some really good, easy to follow format. There's some good videos from agents, current, of the initial 39 agencies that you can learn from. Tons of great information on there. Next slide, please. And with that, y'all did it, right? So congratulations for Cohort 2 agencies for completing the onboarding training, and congratulations to Cohort 1 agencies. You guys are well on your way. I will say, Tanisha and Jenny have a little bit of a competition to see which cohort will get all of their MTW ACC amendments executed first. And Cohort 2 is really, they came on a little bit later, but they're starting to pass Cohort 1. For if you're Cohort 1 agency, Cohort 2 agency, if we don't have your MTW ACC amendment, send it to your cohort mailbox and we'll get it executed. We really appreciate all of the hard work that we know that you have been putting into just thinking through how to best serve your communities and use the tools that we have within MTW to do that. We really look forward to learning from you and all the great things that you guys are doing. From this point forward, and particularly once your MTW ACC amendments are signed, your primary point of contact will be the field office, and the field office has been here with us every step of the way. And they're on these trainings. We've talked to them separately. They are ready, and we are here to support you. We're here to support the field offices to ensure that it can be as as positive as possible. You guys are on the front line. You guys are working every single day to assist the families in your communities, and we within HUD, both MTW and field, are here to partner with you in any way possible. So thank you so much. If you think after this that there would be a helpful training or resource or tool, feel free to just reach out, let us know, and we'll try to get something put together. So thank you guys so much. We hope that you have a wonderful Wednesday afternoon, and we will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.